everyone discusses how Meghan got to know Harry, nobody discusses what she brought with her. Neither an internet critic nor a journalist wrote such remarks. They originated from a person present, someone who saw everything. From the quiet mornings when scandals had to vanish before dawn to the shadowy recesses of Toronto's most exclusive club, Markus Anderson said such things. It was never intended for the public to hear the narrative you are about to hear. Those who believed no one was looking wrote it in the darkness. For the majority of people, Markus was just Meghan Markle's sophisticated buddy, the guy who assisted her in assimilating into London's elite society, and the kind person who stood next to her at royal ceremonies and charitable events. However, Markus was far more deadly than castles and press releases, the guardian of the world that shaped Meghan's true identity. Soho House was that world. It is a haven for the strong and untouchable, not a hotel or a club. Reputations were exchanged like money behind its velvet ropes. Wine flowed more easily than secrets. Meghan was neither a struggling actress nor a future duchess in that secret realm. The evenings were kept alive by her, the curator. She understood what to buy, who to contact, and how to make the proper people feel at ease. She planned the parties in addition to attending them. The narcotics, the champagne, and the laughs were all controlled and confined. There was never anything that escaped. Meghan's present was that. Markus was the one who ensured that nobody ever inquired queries. Meghan was used to excess by the time Prince Harry came into her life. She said it with ease. She was already well known in Toronto's most exclusive circles as the lady who could take over any space. She disarmed people instead of merely charming them. There was more than just romance between them. When Harry paid them a visit in 2016, it was liberty, the freedom that only Meghan could provide. She offered him something he hadn't felt in years, away from the royal gaze. Confidentiality. However, concealment always has a cost, as Markus Anderson would subsequently point out, because a new type of friendship was developing beneath the smiles, and the love story straight out of a fairy tale, one based on peril rather than fate. Markus saw everything. The favors that cost more than money, the runs that went unreported, and the evenings that never made the news. He was aware that things wouldn't just alter if the truth about those Soho House days ever came to light. Meghan's tale would completely change the royal one, and that's where our narrative starts. The secrets Meghan Markle carried with her long before she became a duchess. Not the wedding or the castle. It was 2016. Meghan's aspiration for Hollywood had been replaced with something more ambitious. She was no longer only an actor. She served as the social hub of Soho House Toronto, a posh playground frequented by millionaires, politicians, and actresses. Telephones were prohibited. They never asked questions. And since Meghan could keep the night alive, people went to her when it began to wane. To keep the laughing rolling, she knew the right people, the right places, and the perfect powder. Insiders claimed that the actual menu was considerably sharper behind closed doors, of cocaine arranged without inquiry and delivered in secret. Those who partied with Meghan also said that she wasn't a bystander. She served as the link and the person that people trusted. When gasoline was required for the night, she was aware of more than simply who desired what. She was aware of how to get it, how much it would cost, and how to ensure its unobtrusive delivery. In that group, she wasn't valued for her charm or attractiveness. Access was what it was. Meghan became invincible behind those velvet walls. She knew when to grin and walk away, which rooms to go into, and which names to discard. Markus Anderson, the guy in charge of that planet, stood in the middle of it all. He observed Meghan's ascent. He saw how she controlled, charmed, and established a network strong enough to shield her from any potential consequences. From that night in Toronto. I'll explain what I mean when I talk about that night in Toronto. Thus, Markus was aware of Meghan's dual role, but he decided to remain quiet about it. The image of the humanitarian and the lady who, no matter what was needed, could keep a night going well beyond midnight. And that's when the real narrative starts. Because Meghan's life was no longer a mystery after Markus opened the door to Soho House. It turned into a show where risk, influence, and extravagance all took center stage. Lastly, allow me to share the story of the night in Toronto that went horribly wrong. Toronto, 2016. To visit Meghan, Prince Harry had discreetly flown in. It was a private visit intended to remain undetected by the palace and the tabloids, with no reporters or cameras. However, individuals near to the circle claim that night didn't remain straightforward for very long. It began as a get-together of friends. Drinks are flowing, music is low, and the place is private. However, there was more going on beneath the laughing, a run, as the nightlife in Toronto referred to it. That term didn't refer to a party hop or a late-night drive. It meant secrets, drugs, and luxury. According to sources, Meghan wasn't only having fun. It was she who made arrangements, connections, and making sure everyone got what they desired all took place. She has been following the same routine since her Jamaican wedding, the one when she served her guests more than 100 joints. Keep in mind to manage the night, regulate the environment, and ensure that people feel secure when they cross the border. The whisper that altered everything then appeared. Harry's cousin, Princess Eugenie. Her name drifted through the air not because she was present, but rather because someone said she was meant to be. Panic erupted in the room at the mere concept. More than Meghan's reputation may be ruined if merely a whisper linked a royal's name to such a night. The whole royal family could be embarrassed by it. That evening, something went wrong, a near exposure of fright, a close call. The specifics of what transpired are unknown, but the rumor was drugs and a bust. Everything had vanished before daybreak. Outside the inner circle, there are no pictures, no police reports, and no murmurs. The night seemed to have never occurred. At that point, the name Markus Anderson started to appear subtly in the background. The guy has the ability to make things vanish. The guy who understood the precise cost of protecting the powerful. Meghan Markle seemed to be living the dream to the majority of the world. A wealthy actress is seeing a prince, a real-time fairy tale. However, Markus saw something peculiar within Soho House. He observed a lady who, depending on the observer, might change her form. To her pals in Hollywood, she remained the aspirational actress who was working hard for her next part. She was the stylish insider who knew the proper people in her Toronto circle. She was also Harry's reassuring haven, the one who freed him from the royal regulations he had grown up detesting. However, Markus had already seen this in Meghan as well as in other people who came through his doors. Reinvention as an art. The capacity to let go of one version of oneself and enter a new one without looking back. Meghan's charm and beauty weren't the only things that set her apart. It was her accuracy. She was aware of what to disclose, what to keep hidden, and when to leave. She might use vulnerability as a tactic. Markus, who was in the background, knew what it meant. He has seen others attempt and fail at this game. People who were destroyed by power because they believed they could control it. Meghan, however, was unique. She didn't play for attention, but for survival. Every action was planned. Every word was practiced, and every relationship had a purpose. Meghan was a lady who always knew where the exit was, according to Markus. And that's precisely what made her unstoppable. Before anybody knew they had been studying the incorrect version of her. She could enter any room, enchant everyone there, and then disappear. Meghan was learning the power of discretion behind closed doors. A talent Markus had spent years honing. They came together to build a discreet partnership based on understanding. Rather than friendship, Meghan gave the performance and Markus gave the access. And that combination was absolute power in the world of Soho House. Meghan didn't just meet a royal when she got to know Royal Harry. She met a guy who had lived under constant surveillance. Press headlines, rules, and cameras. Harry had been raised in a gilded cage. Power was not what he most desired, it was liberty, and Meghan did just that, provided Harry could breathe all around her. She gave him a sense of security from the limelight and persuaded him that he could at last have a normal life. Harry was unaware that Meghan was skilled at creating that illusion. However, it was something she had done before. She could create an atmosphere that seemed liberating for performers, celebrities, and friends at Soho House while discreetly managing everything inside. Long before the palace saw that change, Markus Anderson did. He saw how Meghan led Harry into the secret areas of Toronto, where everyone was aware of the regulations but kept them to themselves. Markus saw her develop into not just Harry's girlfriend, but also his manager, guardian, and secret keeper over time. Meghan discovered her power inside that delicate balance between control and liberation. Markus Anderson, who had seen her plan 100 silent evenings in Toronto, saw the pattern right away. There was more to this than romanticism. It was a collaboration based on strategy and secrecy. As Meghan's bond with Harry developed, others in her immediate vicinity started to fade. She ceased communicating with Suit's friends. Old Toronto connections are no longer receiving invites. Even her relatives, who had known her prior to the spotlight, were subtly excluded. Meghan seems to have taken a pair of scissors to her history and cut out all the names that didn't match the new narrative. Markus Anderson saw it, the friends who muttered she just disappeared, the abrupt distance, and the unanswered calls he had saw it occur before, but never to this extent. Every trace of Meghan's previous existence, the parties, the nightlife, and the individuals who had glimpsed beyond the curtain was erased. The tone of her social media profile shifted, her pictures became softer. The captions became healthy, lyrical, and fit for royalty. She was no longer the lady who used to throw wild private parties at Soho House. A future duchess stood in her place. Markus was aware that it wasn't a coincidence, a mechanism was in place. Meghan didn't start over, she deleted every time she entered a new environment. She created a new version of herself. She also ensured that no one could bring the previous edition back.